Hello everyone, welcome back to the show. Real quick before we get into it today, some of you guys have been asking if I do coaching. I do, and I've just opened up a few more spots. So if you want to work with me to increase your ELO, whatever your goals may be, to beat your friends, etc., just check out that top link in the description. And yeah, let's get into the video. In 1963, Bobby Fischer broke a record that is still held to this day, of a perfect score in the US Chess Championships of 11 out of 11. This is one of my favourite games of his. He's held as one of the greatest chess players of all time, and this is one of my favourite games of his. It's just 21 moves, but the first few moves are very, very unassuming. His opponent is Robert Byrne, who at the time was an international master, a very strong player in his own regard. And unfortunately for him, he's most famous really for losing this game to Bobby Fischer. But a year after this game was played, he was Grandmaster, and he was a very strong player. Like I said, it was just a shame for him that Bobby Fischer, even though he was age 20 when this game was played, was still a very strong player. He was 5-time champion of the US Championships. Every single time he'd entered it, he'd won it. And this year was the year that he went 11 for 11. So Bobby Fischer here with the black pieces. I think this was round 3. And Robert Byrne knew that Bobby Fischer wanted to go for the win in this game. So he tried to play a fairly quiet opening in the, the exchange Grunfeld, as we'll see in a moment here. And here Bobby Fischer plays this move. Fairly common in this position is to go for a more King's Indian kind of setup. But that can allow, after something like this, if you do want to still play this move c6, this move e4, which just allows this absolute monster centre here for white. So Bobby Fischer didn't want to allow that. So instead of playing bishop g7, he plays c6. And so after bishop here and this little exchange in the centre, both players, just playing fairly simple developing moves, just like this. And in this position, both players, after Robert castles, both players mirror each other here again, get these bishops onto these diagonals, pinning, in white's case, this pawn to the rook, and in black's case, this bishop pins the knight to this rook. Now, in this position, it's move 11. I've already told you that the game ends after the 21st move. You wouldn't assume so. This looks very drawn, a very symmetrical position. If you look, every single file, apart from the F file, I can't draw arrows, apart from the F file and the E file, are completely symmetrical. If you draw a line between the 4th and the 5th rank and change the colours, they would be exactly the same. And so Bobby Fischer, looking at this position, was evaluating the position. Now, how you evaluate positions in chess is you look for imbalances. And this game, really, when it comes down to it, is a study of imbalances. Bobby Fischer, like I said, one of the greatest players of all time, he looked at this position and he saw the two imbalances of the knight and the central pawns. And in this position, he comes here as he wants to get his rook out of this pin. And after this move, a fairly simple developing move by Robert Byrne, he strikes out in the centre. As I said, he wanted to go for a win in this game, so he needs to be aggressive in the centre. It's also possible to play this move, but it's a lot more drawing, again, in a very symmetrical pawn structure. And both sides have chances, but likely this kind of game would end in a draw. And so Bobby Fischer here strikes out in the centre with e5, apologies. And after this exchange, now these two knights are very, very, very nice. Now, here, white plays an error. It doesn't really look like an error, but white plays rook on f to d1. It seems very logical, putting maybe both of your rooks on the two open files, and yeah, it seems like a normal move. However, it is the wrong rook. Now, I've got a quote here that I've prepared. Look at me being a great YouTuber. A quote from Tartakova, a Polish chess player around the same time. His quote is, whenever you have to make a rook move, I'm going to restart that whole thing. Whenever you have to make a rook move and both rooks are available for said move, you should evaluate which rook to move, and once you have made up your mind, move the other rook. Essentially, he's playing on the joke that you never know which rook to move. Like, I know I personally, whenever I look at a position and want to move a rook, later in the game I'll end up regretting it. And this is exactly the case here for Robert Byrne. He plays this move, and like I said, it doesn't really look like much of an error, but it allows this knight to hop in here. And okay, that could have happened if you'd moved this rook here. But it creates some weaknesses, especially here on the often tender f2 square for white. Now, Robert Byrne comes here. He wants to, trade two pieces here, and that seems very normal. It's, like two pieces for a rook. It's normally seen as a better trade for the side that gets two pieces. And so he's thinking, Bobby Fischer maybe has to retreat back this way, back to here. But Bobby Fischer, in true Bobby Fischer fashion, sacrifices his knight, and after Robert Byrne takes the knight, this move appears on the board. Now, obviously, you don't want to come here back to f1 because this is just absolutely nasty. So, yeah, instead he comes back to g1, which, doesn't prevent this move, but it means, you're not losing your queen here. You're just losing your rook. And so in this position, you can just take the rook. However, this would not be one of the greatest games by one of the greatest players ever if he just played the move that you or I would just move, because we are not Bobby Fischer, are we? So, face value, you would take this, because, like I said, face value, the rook is 5 points and the knight is 3 points. However, this knight, it's a very, very nice piece. And it's what we call an octopus knight. It's just, 8 little legs just in the position, arms or whatever. And in this position, Bobby Fischer decides to take this bishop. Now, you may think, why? Like, he's down, he's sacrificed a piece. Why would he do that? And it's not particularly obvious why he did that until his next move. And if you haven't seen this game before, I'd encourage you in this position to pause the video and just have a look at the position and try and see the idea that Bobby Fischer spotted way back on this move when he took the, in fact, perhaps even way back on this move when he took here. After coming back here, and not there either after this. And yeah, so I'd encourage you to pause the video real quick. The idea in this position, Bobby Fischer, again, a lesson in imbalances. He saw, after taking this bishop, that the light squares are all weak. The imbalance in this position is that there is no counterpiece for this bishop here. And so, he wants to get this bishop active again. It's not that active on this diagonal. The best diagonal for this bishop is this one, the long diagonal, the longest diagonal it could possibly be on the board. The A8 to H1 light square diagonal for the light squared bishop. And so the best move, the only move that continues the advantage, is D4. Now, you may say, what is the point of this move? Doesn't it just, again, give up another pawn? Can't white just take this pawn? And in fact, white can just take this pawn. This is a free pawn. However, it runs into this move, bishop b7. Now, the brilliance behind this move is, just look at this. Just look at this absolutely wonderful bishop. Wonderful bishop. Marvellous. But it's absolutely carving the board into two. There is no defense of these light squares around here. And this rook paired with this bishop just absolutely just corner the king into just a few squares. Now, there are a few options here for white. Maybe white could come here, but after this move, and you're forced to come here, and bishop c8, there is no way to prevent checkmate in a few moves. I'm pretty sure it gives, forced checkmate in 3. It's telling you to give up all your pieces. Even if you try here to prevent the queen coming to g4, you can still have, I think that's actually still checkmate. But I meant to go here. But I mean, both are checkmate, to be fair. So, yeah, great, fantastic. Well done, Bobby Fischer. So that's why Robert Byrne didn't come here. Now, he could have come here, but that would run into this move. And after, it seems, okay, why can't black just take? And after something like this, it just looks as though white's a piece up, right? However, in this position, there's actually a very, very nasty deflection tactic of rook to e1. And the idea here is that if rook takes, then, well, you just take here and you're a queen up. You're about to take this knight here as well. And, okay, surely you just don't take. You just come here, you threaten the rook. Well, you can just take and, if you want to take here, then you're simply just an exchange up for a pawn as well. An exchange and a pawn up. So this should be very easily winning. And so in this position, instead of coming to any of these squares, Robert Byrne comes to the light square, the only square left, really. And in the commentators on this game were saying, they saw all of this and they were like, this just doesn't seem right. Bobby Fischer's just, he's just a piece down in this position. His sacrifice hasn't worked. And in fact, after this move, queen to d7, both players shook hands and the commentators said, his sacrifice hasn't worked. Bobby Fischer's just resigned and Robert Byrne has won. Very well done, Robert Byrne. And in fact, as they were, just talking, going through some more games, they actually found out that in this position, it was Robert Byrne who had resigned as white. Now, what they had missed, and something Bobby Fischer had wanted, he actually was a little bit upset that Robert Byrne had resigned in this position, was the fact that queen here is actually unstoppable in this position. And the threat, what the commentators saw was queen here, and they thought this, this protects this knight nicely, and it protects all these squares around the king very nicely. But what the commentators missed was after queen to h3, and king here only move really, because again, this bishop, you can't come queen here because this is just checkmate, because this bishop and this rook, again, just absolutely disgusting pieces. Look at that. So after king here, the commentators again missed this absolutely wonderful hit of rook to e1. This can be taken 2 different ways. Again, can't be taken with the queen because that loses control of this square, which is checkmate. This bishop, again, when he took the bishop, this was the kind of ideas that were going in his mind, how powerful this bishop here was going to be. And if you take with the rook, which again, this looks fine, but there's another deflection tactic, pinning the queen. Bishop does not move like that, it moves like that. Pinning the queen. So again, this checkmate is on. If you come something like this maybe, then you can just keep taking. Again, the queen can't take because of this. And if you just play some random move like, I don't know, this, well, you can just come here, checkmate, because the queen can't take because of this pin. That is absolutely filthy. And that is what Bobby Fischer wanted on the board. But yeah, couldn't put it on the board. So yeah, Bobby Fischer wins this game, one of the greatest games. And again, move 21 here was when the game ended. 10 moves before, on move 11, we had this very, very symmetrical, very, very drawn position. And it just goes to show how the imbalances in the position, how breaking in the center, how being aggressive and just finding these very strange moves of oh, wrong way, of coming in here and sacrifice. Oh no, not that one. That one. Look at me, I'm very professional. And how coming here and taking here instead of here just creates a huge imbalance in the position. Activating this bishop here. Just absolutely wonderful chess from Bobby Fischer and a great showcase. A great showcase. Yeah, so thank you very much everyone for watching. I hope you got some value, some entertainment, some education out of this video. Subscribe, like, all of that stuff, and I will see you in the next video. Mwah!